You are not lazy, and you do not lack discipline. If you constantly feel mentally exhausted despite doing absolutely nothing physical all day, it is because every time you try to force a good habit, you are violently fighting your own biology. For years, I watched incredibly smart, ambitious people burn out because they believed a very dangerous lie. They believed that success requires endless willpower. They watched videos telling them to wake up at 5 in the morning, take ice baths, and force themselves to read 50 pages a day. But neuroscience reveals a much darker truth. Your brain is explicitly designed to avoid hard work. I want you to think about the last time you tried to change your life. Maybe it was a Monday morning. You woke up motivated. You promised yourself you would focus deeply, stop scrolling, and finally get your life together. By Wednesday afternoon, you were right back where you started, staring blindly at a screen, feeling that familiar weight of guilt. You asked yourself, why am I like this? Why can I not just do the things I know I need to do? The answer is not a lack of moral character. The answer is a biological mechanism called ego depletion. Think of your willpower like the battery on your phone. Every single time you resist the urge to check a notification, every time you force yourself to stare at a blank document, every time you suppress a distraction, you are draining that battery. By the time you actually sit down to do the real work, your prefrontal cortex, the logical part of your brain, is completely drained. You have no battery left to execute the task. The conventional self-improvement industry wants you to believe that you just need a bigger battery. They tell you to push harder. But pushing harder against a depleted brain is like trying to drive a car with no gas by pressing the pedal harder. It only breaks the engine. What if I told you the actual secret to elite focus is not trying harder? What if the secret is strategic laziness? Today, we are killing the toxic willpower myth forever. We are not going to build complicated routines. Instead, we are going to use your brain's natural desire to be lazy to your absolute advantage. Welcome to the Lazy Protocol. Let us take a moment to look at how the human brain actually operates under the surface. To understand why you keep failing to stick to your goals, we have to look back at human evolution. Your brain was not designed to make you productive. It does not care about your financial success or your daily self-improvement checklist. Your brain is simply a survival engine. And the absolute most important rule of survival is conserving energy. Every single time you make a difficult decision or force yourself to focus on a screen, your brain burns a massive amount of calories. To prevent you from running out of fuel, your biology has developed a built-in defense mechanism against hard work. It is biologically wired to always choose the path of least resistance. It will automatically favor the action that requires the lowest amount of activation energy. Activation energy is a concept cognitive researchers use to describe the exact amount of physical and mental friction required to start any given task. And here's the most fascinating part of human psychology. The difference between you reading a book to improve your mind and you aimlessly scrolling on your phone is often decided by a tiny gap of just 20 seconds. If the book you want to read is sitting in another room and it takes 20 seconds of walking and searching to go get, but your phone is resting right inside your pocket, requiring 0 seconds of effort to unlock, your brain will subconsciously calculate that energy cost. It will immediately flood your system with a desire for the phone. You sit there feeling guilty, thinking it is a lack of discipline. But your brain actually thinks it is winning because it successfully saved precious energy. The problem goes much deeper than just saving calories. We also have to examine your dopamine baseline. Your daily environment is constantly flooding your nervous system with unnaturally high levels of cheap dopamine. Endless short-form videos and constant notifications have forced your brain to adapt by raising its baseline expectations. It gets completely used to constant digital chaos. So when you finally sit down to do something quiet and slow, like studying a new skill or doing deep work, It does not just feel mildly boring. To an overstimulated brain, a sudden drop in dopamine actually registers as physical and emotional pain. Your nervous system responds with severe restlessness and a desperate urge to escape the current moment. Your brain is literally screaming at you to stop because the immediate chemical reward is missing. This is exactly why traditional self-help advice is so incredibly toxic. Telling a deeply exhausted person to simply focus harder is like telling someone with a shattered leg to just run faster. It completely ignores the biological reality happening inside their head. Elite performers never fight this biological reality. They exploit it. They understand you can never beat your own brain in a direct test of raw strength. So instead of trying to become someone who loves doing hard things, they simply make their bad habits incredibly difficult to start. They weaponize their own natural laziness. And that is exactly the system we are going to build for you right now. We have established that your willpower is a terrible system to rely on. So what do we replace it with? We replace it with something called choice architecture. Right now, your environment is actively hostile to your goals. The tech companies, the application developers, they have spent billions of dollars engineering your physical space and your digital space to be completely frictionless. They want 0 seconds of hesitation between you feeling slightly bored and you opening their platform. So we are going to reverse engineer their entire business model. This is part 1 of the Lazy Protocol, environmental hijacking. Remember the 20-second rule we talked about earlier? Your brain constantly calculates activation energy. If a bad habit takes more than 20 seconds to start, the lazy part of your brain will often just give up. So your first job is to manufacture micro-friction. You do not need to throw your phone away. You just need to make it incredibly annoying to use. Go to your phone settings and turn the screen entirely to grayscale. When your brain sees a completely black and white screen, it immediately stops getting that colorful slot machine dopamine hit. Suddenly, the phone is just a boring metallic tool, not a limitless entertainment device. Next, buy a cheap alarm clock and charge your phone in a completely different room at night. If you wake up in the morning and have to walk 10 meters down the hallway just to check your messages, your brain will literally decide it is too much physical work. You have just used your own natural laziness to cure your morning scrolling addiction. But we cannot just build walls. We have to pave a clear, effortless path for the things you actually want to do. This brings us to the zero friction rule. If you want to read more books, do not just tell yourself you will read after you finish work. When you are exhausted after 8 hours of working, the activation energy required to walk to the bookshelf, find a specific book, and open it is monumental to a tired brain. Instead, you must design the environment the night before. Place the book open to the exact page you need to read and put it right in the exact center of your desk. Put your pen right next to it. When you sit down the next day, the book is already staring at you. There is zero friction. You do not have to think. You do not have to search. You just sit and fall into the task. This is the profound, quiet power of choice architecture. Your brain is basically a stimulus processing machine. If you place a human being in an empty room with absolutely nothing but a difficult book, they will eventually read the book because the brain craves stimulation, and the book is the only source available within reach. You are not struggling with focus. You are struggling with a poorly designed environment. You have placed a highly addictive digital slot machine right next to your work, and you are getting violently angry at yourself for looking at the flashing lights. Remove the lights. Make the good choice the only logical, easy choice in the room. When you strip away the friction from good habits and add severe friction to the bad ones, you will start to feel this incredible sense of relief. You are no longer fighting yourself every single minute of the day. The physical environment does all the heavy lifting for you. But I have to be completely honest with you right now. Fixing your physical space is only half the battle. Because even if you lock your phone in a safe for 24 hours, your brain might still feel like it is suffocating. You might still sit at that perfectly organized desk, staring at the open book and feel a deep, painful anxiety in your chest. That anxiety is not a lack of focus. That is dopamine withdrawal. Your neurochemistry is still entirely hijacked. And until we fix your dopamine baseline, your brain will constantly try to sabotage your beautifully designed new environment. That is exactly why we need part 2. We just talked about fixing your physical environment. But now we have to face the real monster hiding inside your nervous system. Right now, the internet is absolutely obsessed with something called a dopamine detox. Self-improvement gurus tell you to lock yourself in an empty room for 24 hours, stare at a blank wall, eat completely plain food, and strictly starve your brain of all joy. They promise you that if you suffer long enough, you will suddenly love doing hard work. This is a complete psychological disaster. When you completely cut off all dopamine, your brain goes into severe chemical starvation. It panics. You might survive the first 24 hours using pure, exhausting willpower, but the exact moment you finish that detox, your brain will violently slingshot back to your worst habits. You will find yourself binge-watching videos for 6 straight hours because your nervous system is desperately trying to restore its chemical balance. You cannot fight your biology by starving it. You have to outsmart it. Instead of a toxic detox, we are going to use a system called dopamine defaulting. This means we are going to strategically feed your brain exactly what it craves, but entirely on your own terms. The first step of this system is creating what cognitive psychologists call a dopamine menu. Right now, your only source of comfort is high-intensity, effortless digital scrolling. We need to give your tired brain alternative sources of pleasure that do not fry your prefrontal cortex. I am talking about things like taking a 45-minute walk without your phone, slowly brewing a cup of coffee, or listening to a deep, long-form audiobook. These are low-friction, highly sustainable sources of dopamine. When you feel that agonizing, painful urge to escape your work, do not just sit there and stare at the wall. Go to your dopamine menu. Feed the brain, but do it with real physical experiences, not digital slot machines. But here is the absolute most powerful psychological weapon you have in this protocol. It is a profound concept from behavioral psychology called the pre-Mac principle. It states that a high-probability behavior, which is something you naturally love doing, can be used to reinforce a low-probability behavior, which is something you completely hate doing. Instead of telling yourself that you can never play video games or scroll social media ever again, you simply change the order of operations. You tell your brain, we are absolutely going to watch that movie, and we are going to eat that junk food, but only after we finish exactly 90 minutes of focused, deep work. You are no longer the strict parent denying a crying child their candy. You are simply making the candy the ultimate reward for eating the vegetables first. Your brain immediately stops fighting the hard work, because the hard work is now the only biological bridge to the cheap dopamine it desperately craves. You are literally hacking your own addiction to fuel your productivity. You do not have to abandon your daily pleasures, you just have to weaponize them. We have completely dismantled the willpower myth, and we have redesigned your environment. Now, I'm going to give you a specific blueprint for the next 7 days. I call this the Zero-Willpower Challenge. For the next 168 hours, I absolutely forbid you from trying to work harder. You are not allowed to force yourself to study, and you are not allowed to use your discipline to fight distractions. Your only job is to change one small piece of your physical environment each day. On day 1, you will spend exactly 2 minutes changing your phone screen to entirely black and white. On day 2, you will move your phone charger into the kitchen so you physically cannot touch it while you are in bed. On day 3, you will take the book you want to read, or the work you need to finish, and you will leave it perfectly open in the exact center of your empty desk. You will do absolutely nothing else. By day 7, something incredible is going to happen inside your nervous system. You will sit at your desk, your phone will be far away, your screen will be completely boring, and the absolute only source of dopamine and stimulation in the entire room will be your work. You will naturally start working, not because you are suddenly highly motivated, but because your wonderfully lazy brain has realized that doing the work is simply the easiest biological option available. True discipline is not waking up every single morning and violently fighting the distracted demon inside your head. True discipline is intelligently designing a life where that demon is simply too lazy to come out and fight. You do not need more willpower, you just need a better system. If this biological framework shifted the way you understand your own mind today, I want you to subscribe to the channel. We explore the deep psychological systems that actually drive human behavior, entirely without the toxic motivational noise. Take control of your environment today. I will see you in the next video.